CEWT Talk is a weekly 20-minute podcast brought to you by the Continuing Education Workforce Training Division of Idaho State University's College of Technology. This podcast is part of our continuing outreach efforts, and the format is conversation. We're having conversations with businesses, professionals, entrepreneurs, community agencies, and in all cases, difference makers. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. So subscribe today. Take 20 minutes and hear from people living in your community who are making a difference in your community. It's time to get started with CEWT Talk. Hello, everyone. This is Jason Batalden, Assistant Director of Continuing Education Workforce Training, and we've got a full house today, Paul.
Yes, we do. A whole broad of people here today.
That's right. We got Gary back on the show. He is the old school host of CEWT Talk. We're always glad to have him back on. We got a really cool guest today, and we want to plug something real quick. We do, because the end of this month we've got our fourth episode of our special series, podcast series.
Yes, how to podcast by a podcast about podcasting by podcasters.
There we go. So that's part four, where we give our do's and don'ts about podcasting, and we just added a major don't, didn't we, Paul?
Yes, we did.
We're
behind the scenes, remember to hit that record button.
That's right. If you're going to use Zoom, you got to hit record. But we're going to get over that today. So be sure to check that episode out. Comes out the last Friday of the month. This one was pretty cool. And we just got a really great discussion about what makes a great podcast. So I think it'll be pretty cool. Gary, you have a special guest on the show today. I'm going to toss it over to you and introduce your guest.
Okay, well, that is awesome. I'm pleased. Thank you guys for letting me join you today. Yes, we have a great guest on today. His name is Jason Knapp. He's a culinary specialist. He works today for Cisco Red River region in Arkansas and Oklahoma. We're going to learn a little bit today about cooking, about food. We're going to have a great conversation, and I'm so looking forward to hearing and getting some great tips on food from Jason today. The conversation, as always, it focuses on our guests. It's going to focus on a conversational tone, and the 20-minute time frame started when I said, welcome, Jason. Appreciate your being here. I've got to start this out with something that I've learned about Jason. So before I ask him to talk about himself a little bit, I've got to say this line because it's a great headline. From the Waffle House to the governor's mansion, Jason fits in that mold. That's where he's been. That shows you the breadth of his experience. And he was also a chef of the year for 2009 in Arkansas. He's been on cooking shows. He's got so much experience here. We're so privileged to have him on board. Welcome, Jason Knapp. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to this conversation here. Can we start by asking you maybe give us a little bit more background about yourself and where you've been, what you're doing today with Cisco?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me on today, everybody. And so in Arkansas, it's well, Waffle House was sink or swim. I had no idea how to cook when I started there, and you don't want to sink at the Waffle House. So I was waiting tables for about 3 months, and my manager came in. I worked the night shift, 9 at night till 7 in the morning. And he came in, he said, "Hey, do you know how to cook?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, you better learn. You're on the drill tonight. So scatter, smothered, covered, chunk, diced, spiced, and peppered. Here you go." And you start slinging eggs and doing what you can. And that kind of turned into, hey, I really enjoy this. I like cooking, and jumped out from there to a few other places, went into an apprenticeship program for 3 years. And then actually the governor's mansion called the school. Governor Huckabee was the governor at the time. And they called the school and they said, "Hey, do you have any seniors qualified to come and work at the governor's mansion?" And I was the top of my class. There were only 2 of us, and the other guy was in the hospital. So here I am. And that is no joke. So I got the job at the governor's mansion and started working there. I was there for 8 years, 5 as a sous chef with Huckabee, and then 3 as executive chef under Governor Beebe. And then I had some other experiences, higher education. So I worked for the college here, the university here in Conway, University of Central Arkansas. I worked business dining for Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then Cisco Foods, I'd always bought from them, whether I wanted to with the big corporations or not. I always had a good relationship. So they came to me and they said, hey, we'd like for you to be our culinary specialist. And I said, I've got a 9 to 5. I mean, breakfast and lunch, Monday through Friday. I'm pretty happy. And they said, well, you wouldn't have a staff to manage. And I said, I'm in. Let me have it. So, we went from there, and I've been there 6 years as their culinary specialist. Cisco Foods, the largest food service distributor in the world. We sell a lot of green beans and a lot of napkins and a lot of everything else. Basically, I tell people we've got Brussels sprouts to Q-tips. If you need it, we have it. And I, as the culinary specialist, you would come into my kitchen and, if we had Dairy's Fish House, he wants to learn how to make money in food service, very small margins on the profit side. So we show them how to do that properly, show them how to prepare food, basically show them whatever they want to see. And the experiences that I've had in the past from my blessed career have really allowed me to go through that and speak up to fine dining and down to, not down, but on the spectrum there, down to convenience stores. So it's a very interesting career to have, to be able to see these people. It's like my own episodes of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, that would be cool.
So,
Go ahead.
so
guys.
Jason, you go to their establishments to help them out, or do they come to your place to help? How's that work?
So in my role, typically they would come to my kitchen at Cisco. So I work Cisco, Arkansas, which is part of the Red River region with Oklahoma as well. And so we each have a kitchen. Every Cisco site has a kitchen within the building. And so they would typically come into me. I would pull the food from the warehouse, prepare it, show them how to do it. They can get hands-on or they can be hands-off. And then, but at the same time, I can come to their restaurant, especially right now with labor the way it is. I can go out. People say, hey, I can't make it there. Okay. Hey, I'll come to your place and I'll show you what to do hands-on in your establishment. It's just better for us if we can get them in our building and just have them take a break, step aside, and be able to concentrate and focus on what we're doing.
That's pretty cool. That's cool. When you do that kind of introduction to different restaurants, Jason, do you also go into maybe some of the legal side? I don't know. Are there food management, food preparation, food cooking licenses that restaurants have to abide with? Is that something you get into?
So we get into ServSafe, which is the national body that can certify people to be ServSafe certified, which means I've gone through a class, I've gone and I've taken a test on food safety. So basically how to not cross-contaminate. Well, you don't want to chop produce on the same cutting board that you've chopped raw chicken on. That's the most basic level of explanation there. So all of Arkansas, I don't know about the country right now, but Arkansas, you have to have at least one food service manager, ServSafe manager in your establishment. I think that happened last year. So, which is good. Nobody likes foodborne illness to come to your party. It's the unwanted guest. So it's always good to have somebody that knows what they're doing in there. So yes, to answer your question, we do that as well. I'm ServSafe proctor, so I can give the exam and certify those people to go out in their operations as well.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
So if we just look at your average Facebook feed, food is a very popular posting topic. So I'd say in the last several years, and I can't really put a time frame around it, the food, preparing food, cooking food, broad range of palates has become more popular. I'm assuming you're seeing that on both sides, not only as a chef, but as a supplier of product. I suppose there's interesting things that are happening that are also bringing some interesting challenges to the food business.
Oh, there definitely is. There's all sorts of things happening. I think as the world gets smaller with technology, people just see what all is out there. The days of meat and potatoes, we thought were gone until COVID hit. And now it's, I want comfort food.
Yeah, right.
With all these restaurants in Chicago or California, so there's a famous chef named Grant Atchitts that has Alinea in Chicago. And they went from, they were probably doing $250 to $300 tasting menus, and that's probably without wine, alcohol, whatever, right into doing $35 comfort foods. And he would take it, he would plate it up, or I'm sorry, he would box it up to go, send it out. And then if you followed him on Instagram, he would show you how they would plate it in the restaurant. You could come buy it, take it home, and have that experience there. So, you know, innovation is always key in the kitchen. And you can really see the people who have pivoted immediately when this hit, whether it be, you know, somebody that's the typical ticket might be $1,000, $2,000 for the restaurant, or whether it's, you know, Texas Roadhouse, where I think he was one of the first ones that said, hey, we will do carry out, we will do curbside, we'll do whatever you need to get the food into your mouth, because that's ultimately what a restaurant does. And if they can't do that, they're going to fail. So the people who can pivot are the people that have done that. And so to answer your question, yes, people are out there and they see things now. I was with Aramark at University of Central Arkansas here, and we're serving Indian dishes. We're serving Hispanic, you know, traditional Hispanic dishes. We're serving all these things to these 18 to 22-year-old kids. And now they expect that when they get out. So it's one of those things where they constantly have exposure. And as they get out in the world, they don't want, you know, the burger and fries on a daily basis. Hey, I want that Indian food. Hey, I want this vegan restaurant. I want Ethiopian food. And so people see that and they really enjoy the experience. And now, you know, as the millennials go, the experience is what they want. It's not so much about the food. It's about the experience.
How does Cisco handle that? And I'm sorry, Paul, I don't mean to
go right ahead.
Drag on this a little bit, but I'm just curious, as you know, the chef, and on the supply side, I'm assuming that's a unique challenge for you guys to try to keep ahead of the American taste bud, so to speak.
Well, it is a challenge. I, once again, am in Arkansas. And so we are not the culinary mecca.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Right. Sure.
But Cisco as a whole has a brand called Cutting Edge Solutions. And so our Cutting Edge Solution line has to be stocked across the country. And those are going to be better for you. They're going to be labor saving. They're going to be innovative items that help keep Cisco in front of the trends. I was part of that selection process in Houston, and you would see about 40 to 60 people, and we narrow that down to about 8 items, and those items go out across the country twice a year. And so those items are going to be the innovative, the trending flavors, the things that people want to see, because, you know, let's take it, you know, a typical curry sauce might not be something that Cisco Arkansas would normally stock, but Cisco LA would. And so that would be something that we stock across the country. And that just helps us introduce those flavors to our customers a little bit easier.
Very cool.
So Jason, quick, on a more personal level, you say you've described a long career in cooking and providing food for people. When you were a young guy working at Waffle House and you got thrown behind that grill, what was the thing that ignited that passion for cooking?
Oh, great question.
Well, so you say I was a young guy. I don't understand really that part of the question yet. But you know, I've been cooking about 22 years. I started at Waffle House when I was 4. So whatever. No, it's a good question, because a lot of people, you know, I've just always been a cook, I guess. Whether I knew I liked to cook or not, I've always enjoyed to eat. My son doesn't really understand that. He's like, Dad, you mean you eat for enjoyment? I'm like, yeah, who doesn't? And he doesn't, you know, but I think that's just something I've always had. So at Waffle House, you start cooking and you start, I mean, when I didn't know how to boil water, guys. I had no clue what I was doing. And we used to have robbery homicide detectives come in every night, order the same food. And they actually said, hey, if we bring some hot dogs in, would you be able to cook us some hot dogs? And of course, as an 18-year-old young man, you want to do whatever the police say. Like, absolutely, yeah. Keep you on my side, right? And so he brought me, Sergeant Maxwell brought me these hot dogs in, and he hands them to me, and I take them, and I look at them, and I looked at the grill. Because, you know, it's just a flat top, and a couple skillets, that's all you have. And I look back to Sergeant Maxwell and say, Hey, Sergeant, I don't have a microwave. How am I going to cook these hot dogs? He's like, boy, you get a pot of water, boil it. Like, oh, okay. So, that happens, and you start learning stuff, you start seeing stuff, and all my friends would come in on the late night, 9 at night till 7 in the morning. And if I wasn't there, they wouldn't eat the Waffle House food. Now, I'm sure it didn't hurt that I was giving it to them for free. Probably. But, it just kind of sparked something inside of you. Go, wow, I've created something that people like. And as you start moving on through that process within Waffle House and into, a blue plate diner that I moved into, my grandfather thought I was just going to be a ditch digger if I didn't get out of Waffle House. So they moved me into a bar that served blue plate specials, like that was any better. But it was just one of those things where it just evolves and you start learning and picking things up. And then finally, I was able to learn under an actual chef, and really, he really told me, he said, look, if you treat everybody like they're cold, tired, and hungry, you'll be a success in this business. Because half of it is showing up. Let's face it. As a cook, 99% of it is showing up, but then the rest of it, cold, tired, and hungry, treat them like that and bring them in, warm them up, get their belly full, treat them well. That's the majority of the business right there. And so it just makes you feel good.
Yeah, what a great metaphor too. Reminds me a lot of like bodybuilders when you say, man, you're probably pushing around a lot of iron. You go, well, big part of this, 90% of this is nutrition. It's how you take care of the other part. In this case, it's how you treat people. The customer service angle is huge in your business. And I'll bet that's something you teach also when you're working with all these different restaurants out there and showing them this is what you need to do to be successful, to increase your margin, to do all those things you want to do to get people to come on back.
Absolutely. Because the cooking aspect of it, look, anybody can cook. There's all these mail-in services now that bring food right to your door and you have to chop it up and cook it. And it teaches you how to cook. Now, can you do that 100 times exactly the same, every night? But you're completely right. If you go in and have a bad experience, chances are you're not coming back, whether it be food wise or whether it be service level. Service makes everything. My wife, as she grows younger, shouldn't say older there, but she really, her experience, she's just like my son and my daughter. Like they want the food, but it's all about the experience. And so I take that as a daily lesson when I teach my customers, look, you have to have a proper server training. That server is the face of your restaurant. You can't be at every table. The servers are there. And so if you don't have great service, if you don't have somebody that cares, then you're not going to have customers that care to come back. So yes, you're completely right, Gary, where people have to have that customer service level. If you set the bar, then you need to hit it every time. Look, McDonald's, they set the bar really low, but they consistently hit it every time, right? You're going to hit McDonald's. And so you have to do that at your restaurant, set that bar up high and consistently try to hit that every single time.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So, we'll get some good tips out of this, I'll tell you.
Yeah. So in that whole customer service vein, I already, found out how you grew appreciation for cooking in your career. What was your proudest moment?
So my proudest moment, I won a competition. I used to love doing competitions. And I won Diamond Chef Arkansas, which was it's a statewide competition, really locally based in the metro Little Rock area. And it was like familiar with the Chopped show where they give you a mystery basket and you open it up and jump in. Well, that's what the preliminary rounds were. And I made it actually through I just sort of 4 preliminaries. And then you go into the big competition that's a month out. And that one, the big competition was based on Iron Chef. And so here's the one basket with the one protein in it. And they give you a choice ahead of time for a month. They say, hey, it's either going to be turtle, it's going to be ostrich egg, or it's going to be eel. And you go, oh, okay. So, and so you try to source that out and find it. And it was ostrich egg. And so we ended up taking the prize that night. So it was really fun. It was, I've got a picture of myself, holding the big trophy up over my head with a big smile on my face. And, that was probably the proudest moment of the career as far as that goes. And then one of my other certifications that I got that was it's like a 4-day long cooking exam at the Culinary Institute in San Antonio. And that was another huge moment. There was I think 7 chefs that went through it, and it was elimination. If you didn't pass the test, there was 4 practical exams and 11 written exams. And if you failed any of them, you're out. And so that was I guess 4 days, and out of 7 chefs, there was not one drop of alcohol that was which is a huge thing for chefs. You know anything about chefs? I mean, so that was another proud moment to go 4 days without. I mean, no, not 4 days without alcohol, but to actually make that test happen and really get that. So those are probably the 2 proudest moments of my career.
Yeah.
And another personal question. What is your family's favorite meal that they like to have you prepare?
Okay, so you know the saying that toddlers' kids have no shoes, right?
Right.
It really plays into the chef's kids don't care about family food at all. I mean, it's one of these things where, you know, if I go all out and say, hey, I'm gonna cook this and make this, and most times you sit down and they go, you have any mac and cheese? And that's 100% accurate. And
Right.
so I would say my son's favorite thing is just grilled protein, whether it be
Yep.
beef or whether it be chicken or whatever. And my daughter's favorite thing is the blue box mac and cheese. Isn't it
There you
terrible?
go.
It's awful. As a 9-year-old girl, that's what she wants. And as a 42-year-old man, that's what I want. So
When my kids were young and we were buying that blue box mac and cheese hand over fist, I thought, why couldn't I thought of blue box mac and cheese? You know what I mean? I need to invest in, because every generation kids grow up on that stuff. It's fantastic.
and they even have it at restaurants. That's
Right.
the kids menu. You see it. You're like, oh, yeah, I would love to pay $6.99 for a blue box mac and cheese bowl that cost me $1 at the grocery store. Please, can I? Great.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's cool. And you know, you've just remade your point, Jason, about you know, part of the success of food is in the delivery of what the customer wants. You know, even if it's a blue box of cheese noodles, it's what the customer wants, and your daughter's great. She's happy with it and she's doing well. So
Well, and you're completely right. And you know what? Our choice of restaurants are all based on whether my kids will have a good time there or not. Because if the kids are happy, look, I can be happy eating whatever. I've had so much rich food in my life, I could go the rest of it without any. But if the kids are happy, I'm totally fine. Nicole and I can have a good time.
yes, absolutely. You know, we're getting close to the end of the time here. So what I'd like to do is, as we close this out, Jason, I'd like to say once again, thank you, and just remind people about some of the things you've talked about here today. I mean, you've talked about customer service, you've talked about a great career, a lot of fun, and there goes our timer.
Oh, right on.
So that's perfect. You've talked about you know, taking care of the customer. I've heard great success within your stories, the warmth that you're projecting, and obviously this, you know, super sales skills that you have there, but presented so very well. So it's understandable to me why Cisco wants you back. I mean, good for them to have a guy like you, a quality guy on their team. Thank you for being on our team today and responding to some silly questions, some good questions, I hope. And we've had a really good time here. For our audience, Jason Knapp, he works with Cisco Foods out in Arkansas and Oklahoma. You know, hey, Jason, I forgot to ask you this. If somebody wants to get a hold of you and ask you a question, is there a preferred way if you'd like them to reach out to you, especially you want us to send them to you? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, so they can always reach out to me over my Cisco email. So it's jason.knapp, KNAPP @cisco.com, SYSCO. And so, yeah, if anybody has any questions about anything food related, I'd be happy to reach out to me and be happy to answer whatever I can answer. Tell my customers, if I don't know it, we'll doodle it. We'll find it out together.
That's it. And just, you know, reemphasizing what you've done all along is finding the best way. So thank you for that. For our audience out there, we hope you've learned a little bit more about food today, about cooking, customer service. Had a good time with us. Hope you've gotten some great tips too. We certainly have. Jason Knapp has been our guest. I'd love to have him back again. For all of the rest of you, you can find us at cetrain.isu.edu. You already know all that. But hope you join us. Let us know what you think of this. Check out our newsletters. And everybody, thank you again for joining us for CEWT Talk. And everyone, be safe out there.